Hey everybody, here we are Wednesday evening. It's time for weather for Weather Geeks. What another beautiful day we had today. We're on some kind of a roll here now. The weather pattern is going to start to evolve and change some in the coming days, but since the weekend, we've been in great shape weather-wise. Wanted to start with a calendar view this evening and show you the high temperature numbers so far this month. 84 today, our warmest day in about a week. But really, we haven't had any sort of high heat now since a week ago. 91 on the 9th and 88 on the 10th. It was really humid as well. And then, of course, we had those big thunderstorms a week ago. But ever since then, very pleasant mid-June stuff. 1.7 degrees warmer than average is where we stand for the month so far when you combine the highs and the lows. And I kind of suspect that June will end up going into the record books as a warmer than average month because I don't see any sort of pronounced cool down coming before the month is through. The other big story, of course, is it's dry. We've had some brush fires starting to become an issue in parts of Ohio and western PA with the low relative humidity and the lack of rain of late. Thankfully, it hasn't been super windy, or else it would be a bigger issue, I suspect. We're still sitting at 0.77 at the Youngstown Warren Airport, almost an inch and a half below average now through the first 17 days of the month, and we've now had 7 consecutive dry days ever since those thunderstorms of a week ago. Wanted to show you a time-lapse from Niles today. Beautiful sunrise this morning. We had some sunshine this morning. Now, the cirrus deck did start to thicken some this afternoon. In fact, it looked a little bit gloomy at times, especially in our southern viewing area during the second half of the afternoon today. That's as our upper-level low-pressure system, our cutoff low, if you will, has started to jog a little bit to the north. There's some light radar returns across I-80 in Pennsylvania. Most of that's not reaching the ground. Here's our upper-level low-pressure system still spinning in parts of North Carolina and extreme southern Virginia, but you can see that this thing is starting to make its move off to the north, finally starting to move a little bit, and that will have consequences for us, I suspect, as we go through the next couple of days with an increase in the chances for some precipitation as we go into Thursday and Friday. Our dew points locally still pretty good, but the higher dew point airs off to the south and east, and it is getting set to make its move off to the north. 53, our 7 p.m. dew point here locally. Still very comfortable stuff for this time of the year. When we look at the relative humidity numbers, they're up a little bit now because the air temperatures are starting to fall, but the relative humidity has been as low as 25 to 30% over the last couple of days. That's what's helped to fuel a couple of those isolated brush fires. Notice underneath our upper level low, the dew points are higher, and therefore the relative humidity also higher. You know, we're into the time of the year we're talking about dew points a lot. We're into the warm weather season, and this is one of those subjects that can be a little bit confusing to some people. Why don't we talk about the humidity that much, the relative humidity? And well, basically the relative humidity can be pretty deceiving. In the warm weather season, you can have a day where it's muggy outside, but it's 90 degrees, and the relative humidity is only 47%. That doesn't seem that high, right? And inversely, you can have a winter day in which it's cold, maybe snowing, and the relative humidity is 97%, but that doesn't mean it's muggy outside. It's all about how much moisture the air can quote-unquote hold. In the warm weather season, warmer air can hold more moisture. In other words, the glass is bigger, so you can fit more in that glass. In the winter, that air can't hold as much moisture. The glass is smaller, so even though that glass might be full, that's a small glass. And so the total volume of the moisture or liquid that's in that glass is not as high as what's in the bigger glass, even though the bigger glass might only be half full. All right, so that's a look at relative humidity and dew points, a subject we talk about often, of course, as we get into spring and summer. All right, so our forecast for tomorrow really has evolved some since early in the week. Sunday, it looked like it'd be a totally dry week, but since it became obvious that this upper level low would start pushing off to the north, we've inserted that chance of a pop-up shower or a storm, mostly after lunchtime on Thursday. But this is going to be the classic, you know, when you see me talking about hit or miss stuff, this is going to be that. Really random, impossible to say where these are going to set up. And a pretty similar thing will occur on Friday, hit or miss showers and perhaps thunder. I think as this upper low finally starts to get off the playing field by Saturday, we won't see as many of those random showers and storms in the afternoon, but it's something I can't rule out as the weekend gets underway. Speaking of Saturday and the weekend getting underway, of course, we're into meteorological summer. We've been in that season since June 1st. But astronomical summer, the summer that you see on your calendar, that officially begins at 5:43 Eastern Time here in the Northern Hemisphere. The sunset at 8:58, the sunrise that day at 5:50 a.m., the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere in terms of amount of daylight. So a long day coming up on Saturday, and there'll be plenty of daylight to enjoy, I think, on Saturday with just those small chances of showers and storms. I mentioned that upper level low. I call it getting off the playing field. In other words, it's going to get off the continent and out into the Atlantic by the weekend, decreasing our rain chances on Saturday. But as we go into Sunday and next week, there's not going to be any sort of big, large-scale weather system that's going to impact us. This is pretty typical of the summer season, where the jet stream is pretty far to the north. Any weather disturbances rippling along the jet stream will be fairly weak and fast-moving. But because that jet stream is going to be nudging a little bit farther to the south, it's going to make it so we can be impacted by some relatively minor systems as we go into next week. So when you see those rain chances on my 7-day forecast, they never get all that high this weekend and early next week, even though that chance will exist from time to time all the way through at least the middle of next week. All right, that'll do it for me on Weather for Weather Geeks this evening. Hope you enjoyed, and thank you as always for checking out these videos. I put a lot of time and effort into them, and I hope you get some value out of them. I appreciate it, and you can catch a new edition of this same video with a fresh update on the weekend forecast, same time, same place on Thursday.